Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful today.
Mother-in-law's hero moment, Sheila hurries to save Steffy from Luna. When Sheila Sharp discovers what Luna Nozawa has planned, she will put the pieces together and go crazy. Once Luna has resolved her conflict with Will Spencer, she will return her focus to Hayes Finnegan outside the beach house. Steffy Forrester and Taylor Hayes will be taken aback by the gift Luna will send Hayes home with, but the real drama will start when she threatens Ms. Dillon with a gun. Ms. Dillon ought to learn that Sunshine is actually the criminal daughter of John Finnegan, who is determined to permanently remove Steffy from the picture. Ms. Dillon will follow instructions and find a means to get Steffy to the beach house, since she will be terrified for her life. That will prepare the ground for Luna's intended final face-off. Later, in the week of June 30th to July 4th, Luna would isolate Steffy and make her fear that she is going to die. Since Luna will have Steffy exactly where she wants her, it will appear like the road is over. From Luna's perspective, this is a surefire way to take deadly retribution. But Luna won't expect Grandma Sheila to ruin her plans. Sheila will persuade Taylor to provide her with some vital information after she discovers what Luna is up to. According to BNB teasers, Sheila will get the chance to save the day after Taylor directs her to Steffy. Sheila will therefore hurry to the beach home and attack Luna before she has a chance to shoot Steffy. Sheila will be putting her own life in danger, of course, but what if she gets shot instead? In any case, Sheila will not allow Luna to take Finn's wife away from him. Sheila will stop at nothing to prevent Luna from making this deadly error, because she doesn't want Hayes and Kelly Spencer to lose their mother either. When Steffy discovers that Sheila, of all people, has saved her life, she will be shocked. We'll keep you informed of any further Sheila-related news, since a brave mother-in-law moment is imminent. Sheila Sharp had always been a complicated figure in the world of the Forrester family, a name that carried both infamy and intensity in equal measure, but no one, least of all Steffy Forrester, could have foreseen the moment when this polarizing woman would transform from an unpredictable antagonist into an unexpected hero. A mother-in-law willing to risk everything to save the very woman who had once called her dangerous and untrustworthy. The story began in the waning days of June, just as the summer sun began to blaze across the California coast, and Luna Nozawa, the enigmatic and increasingly unstable daughter of John Finnegan, emerged from the shadows of her past with a twisted vendetta and a meticulously plotted agenda that threatened to unravel everything. Luna, who had long kept the truth of her lineage buried beneath layers of secrecy and lies, had been playing a long game, quietly manipulating the people closest to her, subtly influencing decisions, building connections, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Her brief but intense interaction with Will Spencer, though seemingly innocuous on the surface, revealed the depth of her emotional instability and her willingness to use anyone as a pawn in her game, including the unsuspecting Ms. Dillon, a longtime friend of the Forrester family and someone Luna saw as expendable in her quest for revenge. When Luna finally turned her attention toward Hayes Finnegan, her younger half-brother and Steffy's son, she cloaked her intentions in the guise of affection, offering the child a seemingly innocent present outside the beach house, one that would later leave both Steffy and Taylor Hayes bewildered and deeply disturbed, a small token hiding an ominous message, a symbol of the chaos Luna was preparing to unleash. The tension escalated quickly as Luna revealed her true self to Ms. Dillon, holding her at gunpoint and forcing her into a role she had no desire to play, the unwilling accomplice in a kidnapping plot targeting Steffy Forrester, a woman Luna had come to despise with the heat of 1,000 suns. Ms. Dillon, terrified and confused, did as she was told, luring Steffy to the beach house under the pretense of a casual meeting, her voice shaking as she made the call, her heart pounding with the dread of what was to come. Meanwhile, Sheila began to sense that something was amiss, piecing together strange details and cryptic clues that others had dismissed: an overheard conversation, a missing schedule entry, Luna's odd demeanor at Forrester Creations, and when she finally put the puzzle together, realizing that Luna intended to take Steffy out permanently, her entire world shifted in an instant. For all of her misdeeds, Sheila loved her son Finn, and by extension, she had grown to care for Steffy, not just as her daughter-in-law, but as the mother of her grandchildren, the cornerstone of the life Finn had built. Knowing that time was of the essence, Sheila confronted Taylor Hayes, pleading for information, demanding answers, and ultimately convincing the usually cautious therapist to reveal Steffy's whereabouts, tapping into Taylor's own protective instincts to motivate her. Armed with that knowledge and driven by a fierce maternal determination, Sheila raced to the beach house, her car tearing through the coastal roads, her mind filled with worst-case scenarios and the one thought she couldn't bear to face, arriving too late. Back at the house, Luna had finally cornered Steffy, the gun trembling in her hand, her voice laced with venom as she recounted years of feeling abandoned, betrayed, and overlooked, painting herself as the forgotten child, the discarded daughter seeking justice in the only way she knew how. Steffy, stunned and horrified, tried to reason with her, to appeal to any remaining shred of empathy Luna might have, but it was clear that Luna had crossed a line in her mind from which there was no return. Just as Luna steadied her hand and prepared to pull the trigger, the front door crashed open with a thunderous bang, and there stood Sheila, her eyes wild with desperation, her body tense like a lioness defending her cubs. Time seemed to slow as the two women locked eyes, Luna shocked at Sheila's arrival, and Sheila burning with determination as she launched herself forward, willing to sacrifice her own life to protect Steffy from the unthinkable. A struggle ensued, chaotic and brutal, with the gun going off in the confusion, the sound echoing across the beach and out to the waves, sending birds flying and hearts plummeting. It wasn't immediately clear who had been shot, Steffy, Luna, or Sheila, but the smoke cleared to reveal Sheila on the floor, clutching her shoulder, blood seeping through her blouse, her face contorted in pain but alive. Luna, momentarily stunned by the turn of events, was quickly subdued by Steffy, who wrestled the gun away with a strength born of fear and fury, finally ending the nightmare. Paramedics were called, and Luna was taken into custody, screaming incoherently about justice and betrayal, while Sheila was rushed to the hospital, her wound serious but non-fatal. In the aftermath, the Forrester family was left to grapple with the shocking realization that Sheila, had saved Steffy's life, placing herself in harm's way not for selfish gain, but out of genuine love for her family. It was a moment that redefined Sheila's role in their lives, challenging everything they had believed about her, forcing them to consider that perhaps redemption was possible even for someone with a past as dark as hers. Finn, upon hearing the full story, was torn between pride and sorrow, heartbroken that his daughter had become so lost, but grateful beyond words that his mother had stepped in to prevent an irreversible tragedy. Steffy, shaken but alive, struggled with the complexity of her emotions. Gratitude toward Sheila mingled with old wounds and lingering distrust, creating a new chapter in their strained but now undeniably bonded relationship. Hayes and Kelly were spared the trauma of losing their mother, thanks to the woman they had barely known, and Taylor, once so adamant about keeping Sheila at arm's length, found herself quietly thankful for the part she had played in enabling this unlikely rescue. In the days that followed, the beach house became a symbol of both danger and salvation, a place where secrets had come to light and lives had been irrevocably changed. Sheila, recovering in the hospital, refused to accept any accolades, brushing off praise with characteristic bluntness, insisting she had simply done what any mother, or mother-in-law, would do when faced with the threat of losing someone they loved. Yet the truth was more profound than that, for in that single act of bravery, Sheila had not only saved Steffy's life but also rewritten the narrative that had haunted her for decades. She was no longer just the villain of the past, she had become the unexpected savior of the present, a mother-in-law whose hero moment would be remembered long after the bruises faded and the headlines disappeared. Luna's descent into darkness, while tragic, served as a stark reminder of the importance of truth, connection, and the dangers of unresolved pain, and as she faced the consequences of her actions, the Forrester family rallied together, bound not just by blood but by the shared experience of surviving a nightmare that could have ended so differently. And at the center of it all stood Sheila, sharp, flawed, fierce, and, against all odds, a hero. Sheila's redemption, hostage taken, and Luna versus Steffy. Using a rifle, Luna Nozawa will corner Steffy Forrester Finnegan. In the meantime, Ms. Dillon, the unfortunate art teacher, is gagged and bound in what looks to be a closet. Sheila Carter Sharp, though, might be involved in the rescue effort. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. The redemption of Sheila Carter Sharp. Before moving on to the 2-weekers, let's first discuss what will be happening from June 30th to July 4th, 2025. First of all, even though the cops are allegedly on standby, Luna escapes. Will Spencer might perhaps be injured or at least knocked down. Electra Forrester can use that opportunity to play nurse to her brave yet brash boyfriend. Sheila will confide in Deacon Sharp about the Spencer men's tendency to betray others in the interim. Sheila will then come to the terrible knowledge that Luna is escaping. Sheila decides to go to the Cliff home as a result, but Steffy won't be there. This is due to the fact that Luna will have previously given Ms. Dillon a gunpoint order to bring Steffy to the art school. Unfavorable news for Grace Buckingham. Sheila will inform Taylor Hayes that it's vital even though Steffy isn't present. Taylor and Sheila probably both rush to the school when Sheila tells them what Luna said. But I wonder if Liam Spencer could save the day. After all, Dr. Grace Buckingham has given him more unfavorable news this week. Liam and Hope Logan also enjoy some memorable times together. Captured hostage. Steffy is surprised to see Luna brandishing a gun at her when she arrives at the art school. Luna had other things to talk about when the mother inquires about the teacher's whereabouts. In the meantime, a sneak peek reveals Ms. Dillon gagged and bound in the closet. Spoilers for the next 2 weeks of The Bold and the Beautiful. Fans of BNB may witness what transpired following Luna and Steffy's confrontation throughout the week of July 7th. At least one person might die, but will it be Steffy, Luna, Liam, or another person? In the shimmering, sun-drenched glamour of Los Angeles, where wealth and beauty dance across the marble floors of fashion empires and cliffside mansions, chaos was unfolding in the shadows. What began as a whisper of unease had erupted into a full-blown crisis as Luna Nozawa, once the gentle, misunderstood newcomer to the Forrester universe, stood with trembling hands and fierce eyes, a gun clutched tightly in her grip, cornering Steffy Forrester Finnegan inside the dimly lit, echoing corridors of the Mariposa Art Institute. The walls, once adorned with student dreams in acrylic and charcoal, now seemed to throb with tension as Luna's voice, cracked and urgent, demanded answers no one was ready to give. Only hours earlier, the peaceful veneer of Beverly Hills had been intact, and Steffy had simply planned to review some design portfolios and meet with a local charity about student grants. But now, she was staring down the barrel of a gun, her designer boots frozen in place, her breath shallow as she tried to make sense of how Luna, kind, sensitive Luna, had spiraled into a frenzy of accusations and desperation. Bound and gagged in a nearby closet, the beloved but timid art teacher, Ms. Dillon, whimpered through the cloth stuff between her lips, her wrists tied behind her back with what looked like a leather Forrester Creations belt. Earlier that day, she had welcomed Luna into her classroom to talk about a mysterious sketch left unsigned on her desk, a sketch Luna swore had been drawn by someone trying to warn her about the Forresters, and especially Steffy. But before Ms. Dillon could call campus security, Luna had flashed the gun she claimed she found in her late father's safety box, insisting someone in the Forrester family was lying about what really happened to her mother, Poppy. Now, Steffy tried to reason with Luna, her voice calm yet calculated, remembering all too well the many times she had faced danger, kidnappings, shootouts, betrayals. She kept her hands raised, glancing subtly toward the closet door where Ms. Dillon was trapped, and then toward her purse, where she'd hidden a panic button Thomas had insisted she carry since the last Sheila Carter incident. But Luna saw the glance and snapped, "Don't even think about it, Steffy. I know what you did to my mom. I know what your family has covered up." Meanwhile, across town, at Il Giardino, Sheila Carter Sharp sat with her elbows pressed against a weathered table, gazing into a half-empty cup of espresso as Deacon Sharp leaned forward, the lines around his eyes etched with concern. Sheila, once the terror of the Forrester family, had been attempting a redemption arc, or so she claimed, but even she couldn't have anticipated the sudden lurch in her heart when she overheard two waiters whispering about police activity near the art school. Something didn't sit right. "Deacon," she said, her voice unsteady, "I think Luna's in trouble." Deacon frowned. "The girl? She's sweet, Sheila, even a little shy." Sheila shook her head, a flicker of maternal recognition sparking in her eyes. "No. I know that look. I've had it myself. When you've been hurt, betrayed, lied to, it makes you reckless. Desperate. And if she's anything like I was," her voice trailed off. She rose, grabbing her purse. "I'm going." Despite Deacon's protests, Sheila was already out the door. Back at the Cliff House, Taylor Hayes, recently back in town, opened the door to find Sheila standing there, breathless and panicked. "Taylor, it's Luna. I think she's going after Steffy." At first, Taylor tried to shut the door, her therapist instincts and maternal rage clashing in that moment, but the urgency in Sheila's voice gave her pause. "Please," Sheila whispered. I don't want anyone else hurt. Let me fix this. Taylor hesitated, then nodded slowly. Meanwhile, Grace Buckingham was having a tense conversation with Liam Spencer at University Hospital, where a lab report had just arrived, something about Luna's psychological profile following a misdiagnosed dosage of anti-anxiety medication she had been taking since Poppy's breakdown. The news wasn't good, and Grace's brow furrowed deeply. Liam, this girl isn't stable, she said. And if she thinks Steffy's a threat, she might actually. Liam didn't wait to hear the rest. He was already sprinting for the parking lot. Back at the school, the standoff continued. Tell me about my mother. Luna screamed, pacing in a frenzy. Tell me why she cried every time she saw your family on the news. Tell me why she warned me to stay away from all of you. Steffy, struggling to maintain her composure, tried to piece together the fragmented story. Luna, your mother was a friend of my mom's. She worked for the Forresters years ago. There was an incident, yes, but nothing to warrant this. Luna's eyes narrowed. You're lying. She said someone destroyed her, and it started in this school. In this room. Just then, a thud echoed from the closet. Steffy turned, eyes wide. Who's in there? She asked. Luna paused. Just a teacher. She tried to call for help. But Steffy took a risk, stepping slightly to the side, just enough to block Luna's line of sight, and lunged for the door. The gun fired, a deafening crack that echoed off the walls. Everything slowed. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ms. Dillon shrieked behind her gag. For a moment, no one moved, until Steffy, miraculously unhit, wrestled the gun from Luna's grip. The two women struggled as sirens wailed in the distance. A door crashed open. It was Liam, closely followed by Sheila and Taylor. Get back! Luna cried, grabbing a shard of broken glass and holding it near her own throat. I'm not going to prison for your lies. Sheila, breathless, stepped forward. Luna. Look at me. I know what it's like to lose everything. To feel alone. But this isn't the way. You don't have to be me. Luna faltered. Her hand shook. Why do you care? She spat. Sheila's voice broke. Because if someone had done this for me, maybe I wouldn't have lost so much. At that, Luna dropped the glass, collapsing into sobs. Liam rushed to Steffy, who was bleeding slightly from a graze along her arm. Ms. Dillon was freed, and the paramedics arrived moments later. Sheila stepped back into the shadows, unnoticed, until Taylor approached her. You did good, Taylor said softly. Sheila gave a rueful smile. Maybe one good thing can erase 10 bad ones. As Luna was taken away in cuffs, she glanced back at Sheila with a mixture of fear and admiration. In the following days, the Forresters and Logans would struggle to understand what had driven Luna to the edge. Grace Buckingham's findings would reveal that Luna's mental health had been deteriorating for weeks, exacerbated by a hidden family secret and unprocessed trauma from her mother's past. Will Spencer, who had tried to intercept Luna earlier in the day and had been knocked unconscious in the process, would recover under Electra Forrester's careful watch, deepening their new romance. Hope Logan and Liam would share a quiet moment of reconciliation, holding their daughter close and wondering if danger would ever stop circling their lives. And Sheila, ever the enigma, would sit alone one evening at Il Giardino, staring into her wineglass, as Deacon approached her with a quiet smile. You didn't just redeem yourself, he said. You saved lives. But Sheila only shrugged. I just didn't want another girl to become me. Somewhere, miles away, Luna sat in a padded cell, tracing a line on the wall with her finger, whispering, they'll know the truth. One day. And across the city, in the polished halls of Forrester Creations, Steffy stood in her office, hand on the glass, eyes on the horizon, wondering what other secrets were buried in the past, and which one would come back next. Sheila Carter, and it arrived a half-second before chaos could become irreversible. Luna Nozawa, standing rigid, arm outstretched, her fingers curled tightly around the cold steel of the gun, flinched at the sudden sound. Her knuckles were white, her breath ragged, and her entire body trembling, not from fear, but from the collision of fury and heartbreak coursing through her like an electric current. The muzzle of the gun pointed unshakingly at Steffy Forrester, whose eyes, wide with both disbelief and desperation, never left Luna's face. Luna, once so full of hope, so enamored by family and legacy, stood on the precipice of a decision that would ripple through generations, a decision not just of vengeance, but of identity. Sheila's footsteps echoed as she stormed forward, her eyes darting between Luna and Steffy, calculating, assessing, pleading, manipulating, everything Sheila Carter had always been, every trait that made her so dangerous and so undeniably effective. But for once, it wasn't about control. It wasn't about chaos. It was about stopping it. Luna, Sheila said again, this time softer, more human. Put the gun down. You don't want this. Not really. Luna didn't blink. Don't tell me what I want, she said, her voice hoarse, cracking, yet resolute. You think you know me? You think you understand what this has done to me? The air in the room was thick with a silence that screamed. Outside, the Los Angeles night carried on with its own stories, traffic lights, sirens, lovers arguing, children dreaming, but inside this forgotten warehouse, time itself seemed frozen. Steffy tried to speak, but Luna cut her off with a harsh look. Don't you dare speak, Steffy. You've done enough. Sheila raised both hands in surrender, taking another careful step forward. You're right. About everything. You've been lied to, manipulated, thrown aside. And God knows I'm the last person to preach. But this isn't you. You are not a killer. I never thought I was, Luna whispered. But maybe I didn't know myself as well as I thought. Her eyes flicked to Steffy, and there it was, beneath the rage, the heartbreak, the chaos, an ocean of grief. She took everything from me, Luna said, louder now, eyes brimming with tears. My mother. My sense of family. My trust. She used me like a pawn, played her games with my heart, and then discarded me like I didn't matter. You all did. But she gestured sharply with the gun, she broke me. Steffy's voice, when it came, was brittle. I didn't mean. Shut up! Luna screamed, and for a terrifying second, her finger tightened on the trigger. Sheila lunged slightly forward, then stopped, hands trembling. Luna, please. I know what it's like to be driven by revenge. To let the fire inside you consume everything. I've lived that. I am that. But you, Luna, you are better than me. Better than all of us. You want to talk about being better? Luna spat. You're the queen of chaos. And even you know this is wrong? Yes, Sheila said, voice cracked with sincerity. Because I've been where you are. I've pulled that trigger. And I regret it. Every day. You can't undo this, Luna. Once you cross that line, it follows you forever. No matter the reason. For a moment, silence again. Luna's eyes flickered with internal war, her father's voice, her mother's lies, RJ's betrayal, the glimmer of hope she once had for the Forrester name. All of it crashing into the hurricane of the present. I loved you people, she muttered. I wanted to belong. I would have given anything. But all I got was deception. All I got was silence. You still have a choice, Sheila said, her voice low, as she stepped between Luna and Steffy, slowly. Put the gun down. Let me carry the weight. Let me be the villain. But don't let this be the moment that defines you. And then, finally, Luna's gaze shifted downward. Her hand, still shaking, began to lower. The tension snapped like a string pulled too tight. Steffy sobbed audibly, Sheila breathed out in relief. But it wasn't over. From the shadows behind them, a new figure stepped forward. Lee Finnegan. "Luna," Lee said, her voice cold, cutting. "Don't be fooled. Sheila's trying to save herself, not you." The gun was raised again. "No," Luna said. "She's trying to save me. Something none of you ever bothered to do." Lee's eyes were full of fury. "You're acting like a child. You think pointing a gun gives you power? You think Steffy is the enemy? You've become her," she spat, nodding to Sheila. But Luna only stared. Her face collapsed for a moment under the weight of every betrayal. Then slowly, deliberately, she turned and tossed the gun across the room. It clattered to the concrete like the closing of a chapter. "I'm done," she said, barely audible. She collapsed into sobs, and for the first time, even Sheila didn't know what to do.